Hi, so in this video I'm going to show you how I made this little treat cup card using the Stampin' Up circular treat cups. So I'll just show you the card. So this is just an introduction to the design of the card, and I'm going to show you how to make it all in canvas. And then once it's all designed in canvas, we're going to come back to the machine and I'm going to show you how to cut it all out and how to assemble it. And as I say, how to put the little bit on the inside that's got the perforated lines so you can break into there to get the sweets out. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm in canvas. I'm going to go to the basic shapes and choose just this first square. I'm going to come up to the properties and I'm going to change the size of this box. I'm going to make sure that the maintain aspect ratio is unticked. It will be ticked by default. So untick it because we want to set the sizes differently and not in proportion. So on the height here, I'm going to type in 4 and hit enter on my keyboard. And in the width here, I'm going to type 3 and hit enter on my keyboard, and then I'm going to close that down. So that's my basic size, which is going to be the front of the design. So I'm going to right click and hit duplicate and just put a duplicate over there for now. I'm going to come back to the basic shapes and I'm going to choose a circle. Then I'm going to come back, while it's selected, I'm going to come to the properties box. I'm going to tick the maintain aspect ratio because this time I want it to all size proportionately. And the size of the circle that we need for the treat boxes is 1.75 or 1 3/4 inches. So I'm going to click this down arrow and take the size down to 1.75, and because I've done it in proportion, it's altered it here and made it a perfect circle. And I'm going to close that down. I'm going to drag the circle on top of this shape. I don't want it too near the top, I don't want it in the middle, because I want to give myself some room for adding some borders on here for decoration. And I don't want it near the top because I'm going to create another design in a little while that's going to go around the outside of this. So I need to give myself some space. So I'm just going to position it kind of by eye. If I click on the box while I'm holding the shift key, if I click on the box, you'll see there's the center line. So it's not sort of centered to the circle, if that makes sense. I just want it a little bit higher. I'm going to select both, go to edit, align and center, and that just puts the circle centrally widthways, not vertically. Okay. While they're both selected, I'm going to right click and hit duplicate and put a duplicate over here for now because I'm going to need that in a few minutes. I'm going to come back to these two and select them both and hit the subtract icon. And basically what that's going to do is punch that circle out of my solid rectangular shape. So it will be a rectangle with a hole in the middle. And if I just fill that with colour now, you'll see what I mean. See, it's all solid, but there's a hole in the middle. And that's what we want. So I'm going to take the colour out. Just so you can see it. Now I'm going to bring this square back, this rectangle back. Sorry, you can tell it's a while since I've done a video, I can't speak. And position it roughly there, drag a box round both, go edit, align, and I'm going to line up the left edges. And then I'm just going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Now they're not touching, so I'm going to select this one, and using the arrows on my keyboard, you've got the 4 directional arrows. I'm going to hit the down arrow a couple of times, then I'm going to select this one, and hit the up arrow a couple of times, and then I'm going to click this one. They're kind of just about touching now, but we need them to overlap to weld, but I don't want them to overlap too much, else it will alter the fold of the card. So I'm selecting the top one, bring that one down, and you can see they've overlapped now because there's a gap. If imaginary box around both and hit weld. So, and that's now the basic card with the hole in, and it would fold here across there. Now I'm going to drag an imaginary box around these two that I made before and bring them onto my page. And what I want to do, I want to make a decorative matting layer to go over here, and I also want a section to go on the inside. So these two are separate items at the moment, and they're basically just a copy of what we had down here before we welded this on. So what I want to do is select the rectangle only, which is 4 by 3. I want to come up to the properties box and I want to make it 3.75. So I've got the maintain aspect ratio selected, and I'm going to click the down arrow once and then close. Now that's only resized the rectangle, not the circle. The circle's got to remain the same, 1.75. So I'm going to drag an imaginary box around these two. I'm going to drag an imaginary box around these two and go to Edit, Align, Center, which puts the circle in the center this way, not vertically, if that makes sense. And I'm going to drag these two over while they're both selected and see how this is going to look. And it's not actually what I want. So I'm going to click up here to select this big icon, big shape, right click and center back. Now I should be able to click on this. So I want to move this rectangle down a bit more, because if I click on this, if you look where this is now, when I select this, you'll see it's virtually on that line, and I want it to come down. So I'm going to select this and use the arrows on my keyboard and bring this down a couple of steps. So when I click on that again now, you can see that this matting layer is going to be below that fold. And I could actually probably bring it down a bit more. So I'll use the arrow on my keyboard and bring it down a little bit more. The circles are still lined up, which is what I want, because a circle has got to be in the same place. So I'm left clicking to select the circle. I'm going to hold my shift key down and click here to select this rectangle, and then drag those both away. While they're both selected, I'm going to right click and hit duplicate and put them there, because I'm going to need them in a few minutes. This is all still one shape. These are two separate shapes. I'm going to drag an imaginary box around these two, and I'm going to hit subtract. And that basically has punched a hole out of that rectangle. So if I fill this one with colour, it might make it easier to understand what I'm trying to do. So that's going to be my basic card, which will fold in half. If I select this one and make this one red, just so it stands out better. And then if I line those two circles up there, that now lines up with a space, an equal space all around, which is going to be on the front. So I hope that makes sense. Undo that. This bit in the middle now is going to be on the inside of the card, and this is going to be where the perforated lines are going to be, so you can get the sweeties out of the card without wrecking the whole card. So these two are separate items at the moment. I'm just going to bring them over here so you can see. Now, we're not going to need this circle, but I'm going to use it as a guide. So I'm going to come over here. In fact, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on this so you can see it better. So these two are still separate shapes. I'm going to come over here and select the path icon. I'm going to click just inside the circle, kind of centrally. This doesn't have to be exact because these are just going to be perforated lines that you can rip open. So I'm going to left click once. I'm going to hold my shift key down and drag down and double click to anchor that shape. And because I've double clicked, it's anchored it and selected it at the same time, which is good because that's what we want. So while it's selected, I'm going to press down the Alt key on my keyboard. We've done this before when we've made duplicating shapes. And I'm going to come over to this green circle. And while I've got my Alt key selected, I'm going to left click and drag another one out and let go. And let go of the Alt key. Then I'm going to press the Alt key down again, come back to this and drag another one out and let go of both. Then press the Alt key down again, come back to this and drag another one out and let go. Then I'm just going to left click somewhere on my page to deselect. Now, what I want to do is get rid of the circle. Now I've clicked on the circle, but the box is highlighted, so that must mean that's on top. So I'm going to right click and send it to the back, and then hopefully I can just select the circle. I'll send it backwards and see if that works. There you go. So I've now clicked on the circle, and you can see the circle selected because it's just the box around the circle, and I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard to get rid of the circle. Now I want these without the square, without the rectangle, but I don't want to move the rectangle because we've positioned everything. So I've selected the first line. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to click on each one of these in turn, and we want to group. So if we left click on the page to deselect now, we'll see what happens. That should be a group. Right click, send to back, and that should be a group. Okay, so we've got two separate groups now. I've got these all selected now. I'm going to go to the properties box, bring it over here so you can see it. I'm going to choose cut line, and then I'm going to come down here and make these a dash line, and I'm going to choose the first small set of dash lines and close that down. Select my rectangle, go back to the properties box, and this is cut or draw. I want it to be just a cut, so I'm going to say cut and leave that on a straight line. So if I zoom back out now to the mat, so you can see what's happening, I'm going to drag an imaginary box around both of them and right click and group because I want those to be a group. So basically what I've got now, I've got my card. This bit is smaller and this will go on the inside and will be my perforated lines. This bit's the same size as this, and this is going to go on the outside as like a decorative mat layer. And then I want one more shape, so I'm going to come back to my circle, choose it, go to the properties box, make sure maintain aspect ratio selected and make it 1.75. And close that down. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to choose a scallop. I'm going to hold my shift key down. Sorry, I'm going to place it roughly over the centre of that circle, and just while the scallop's selected, I'm going to hold my shift key down and drag it in to make it smaller. And I want a nice little border around it, and I'm just kind of doing this by eye at the moment. Bring it in a bit more and we'll see what size it ends up as so that you know what to size it as perfectly. So it's 2.80. So I'm going to select this scallop and the circle, edit, align, center, and middle. So it positions the circle directly in the centre horizontally and vertically. And while they're both selected, I'm going to hit subtract. No, I'm not. I'm going to undo. I know why, because the scallop's on top. Right click on the scallop and click centre back and make sure the circle's on top. Select both and hit subtract. Okay, now that's given us what we want. That's the filled in shape. If I fill that with colour, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so this is going to go, in fact, I'll change the colours so you can see. So let's say I'm going to cut this in green card. So we'll choose a green. We'll go with the dark green. Okay, this is going to be the matting layer on top. We'll make that a slightly different shade of green. The plastic little cup with the sweeties in is going to pop through there. That's going to go on the outside. We'll leave that colour for now. And this one will be on the reverse side of this card, which will be a box where you can punch a hole in to get your sweeties out without wrecking the whole card. So I hope that makes a bit more sense. And then what I might do, I might try and add a border. So we'll go to the borders and we'll find a scallop. We'll hold the shift key down and we'll drag this in to make it small. And we might see if we can get two. So we'll right click and duplicate that. And then I'll colour this in a different colour just so you can see it. I'll make it this pinky colour to go with the scallop for now. We'll put that there. Bring this one out of the way. Put that one there. That one can go on top. I'll fill this one with white so you can see it better. And we'll bring it to the front. So we need to bring the pink one down. Put the white one over the top. Obviously you're going to cut these. You could make them the exact size, but I prefer to make them a little bit bigger, and you can always trim them down afterwards. And then you might want to put some text on. So let's go to the text tool and we'll choose a font. Choose this one and we'll put Be Mine on this one. And click to select it. I'm going to go to the properties box, and before I do anything I'm going to assign a draw line to it. And I'm just going to fill it in with black so you can see it better on the video. Then I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to shrink this right down so it fits on there. And I'm just going to zoom in. Oh, keep doing that, don't I? There you go. And I'm going to select it and hold my shift key down and take it down really small because I want this to write with the pen tool, and I want to be able to position it on one side, something like that. And then we could go back to the basic shapes, find a heart, hold the shift key down, shrink this one down really tiny. I'll just zoom in again. While it's selected, hold the shift key down and then rotate it a little. I'm going to shrink it down a bit more and put that there. I'm going to select that, properties, draw. and I'll fill it in with black just so you can see it. It's not going to fill it in, but it's just for the video. So these two are going to be draw lines. Everything else is going to be cut lines. And the inner section here are going to be dash lines. So because I've assigned all that in Canvas, it will make it easier for when I come to cut it. So I'm just going to separate these out now. I'm going to move that. Actually, I'm going to keep them two together. So I'm going to select both of those and choose group. And that way I know that they're going to be positioned once I've cut it to do the drawing. So I'm going to save this now and just call it Circle Treat Box. And save it in my projects. And say OK. I've not got a USB stick on my computer at the moment, so I'm just going to hit download. Download it to my Mac. I'll drag it onto a USB stick and go back to the ScanNCut and show you how to cut it and assemble it. Okay, so I hope you can see what I've done here. I've cut up some card already, and I've got my USB stick loaded into my ScanNCut machine, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But basically, I've got a piece of white card on this mat that's 5 inches wide, and it's about 11 3/4 inches long. This is our standard A4 size card. I think it's a little bit longer than your letter size, but probably only maybe 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 inch. So I've got a piece of that on there. Got a piece of plain Stampin' Up card, which is 4 inches wide by approximately 5 inches high. And I've got a piece of Stampin' Up pattern paper, again cut at 4 inches wide, and this one I've cut at 6 inches long. And then I've got my little treat cup here, and they already come with this double-sided sticky on this side, but I've just put a little bit of, don't know if you can see it there, red of the extra strong double-sided sticky, because I just need something to hold this in place when I start to assemble the card. But you'll see what I mean once I've cut it. So I'm going to load this into the ScanNCut, open up the cutting file, and then see if I can position all the pieces on here and cut them all in one go. Okay, I'm not sure whether this is the greatest angle. It's not easy for me to try and get all this, get the camera organised at the same angle all the time. I'm going to load my piece of card into the machine. I'm going to go into pattern, into saved data, find the USB stick. I'm going to find the folder that has the cutting file that I made in Canvas. And I'm going to say OK. I'm going to do a background scan using this here. This is the background scan icon, the blue, it's like a blue box with a horizontal line going through it, because I want to see if I can position those shapes on these sections of card. Okay, I'm not sure how clearly or not you will be able to see these, but I can see them on the screen. So I'm going to bring this one down, go into this top left-hand corner box and choose this icon with the square and the vertical and horizontal arrow. And then I'm going to choose the middle icon, which is rotate, and rotate 90 degrees and say OK. Because I want to see if that will actually fit on there, and I think it will. And then this one I'm going to do the same, because this is the one that's going to have my writing on. and I want to rotate it to get it in here to get the best possible use out of all these bits of card. So again, I'm going to rotate, doesn't matter which way. This one I want to go on that piece of patterned paper. In fact, yeah, that's right. This one I want to come on the plain piece, and I want this one on the plain piece as well, which I think might just fit on there. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so I'm going to say draw and go. Okay, so that's finished doing all its dash lines now. I'm going to take the pen holder out and take the little cap out, put my blade back in, and I'm going to say finish drawing. This time I'm going to say cut and set it off to cut. Okay, I'm going to unload, turn the machine off, and I will be back in a minute. Right, so I've got all the elements of my card here. I'm just going to peel everything off the mat and hopefully everything will be cut. Now my blade is over 9 months old and I'm still using the same blade that I got with the machine. But I think maybe for this card I needed to maybe up the blade depth a little, but it's cut okay, it's just in a couple of places. So I'm just going to peel all these off and then we'll start to assemble the card, and I'll show you all the little bits in close up in a minute when I've got everything off here. Okay, I'm having a little bit of trouble with the light today, but we'll see how we go. I've got all the bits here anyway. So this is the main card. This section here, which you're probably not going to be able to see, has got dash lines in a circle, which is where you're going to punch into the card to get the sweets out. This is my matting layer with my dashed lines on it. Here's the little flower with the dashed lines on, and the two borders with the dashed lines on. So I'm going to show you now how I assembled the card. So this is your little plastic cup, and as I said to you before, I've put some red double-sided tape on here that needs to be peeled off. This is the worst bit, getting the tape off. There you go, there's one. There's the other, wherever it is, stuck to my finger. So we're going to push this inside here, and that little bit of glue we've just put on, we'll just hold it in place while we can get our sweeties in it, and then get this backing piece, which is going to go on the inside there. So I'm going to put some adhesive on this piece of white card. As I say, I'm not quite sure whether you can see the dashed lines. There's a circle or a set of dashed lines that will be where the circle is here. So when you're putting your glue on this card, you want your glue all around the edge, but not over where the dashed lines are. So if you prepare this bit ready, trying to see if I can see myself now. As I say, it's a very grey day here. Going to get my little sweets. These are millions, by the way, they're called in the UK. Put some into there. Put the lid on before I knock them all over. Get my little card with my circle hole dash lines on, and then position this over there to hold the sweeties in place. Like so. Then we're going to put our matting layer over there. So I'm going to stick this. And this is only paper, so I'm just using my runner, but it's strong enough to hold the card in there as well. Just going to position this down. And because we did all the preparation work in canvas and we sized everything, everything hopefully should go together fairly easily now. So we're going to stick that one on there, gain some glue. And if you remember to get into the habit of setting your cut lines and your draw lines in canvas, you won't have any problems when you come to assemble anything. That's going to stick over there, and then I'm going to see what this is going to look like on here. I think I might put those two on there, and this one, I don't know if you can see it, it's so tiny, actually says be mine, and there's a little heart. So when we made this in canvas, if you remember, I made this a little bit longer, so I've got some wiggle room, and then I can trim it with the scissors. But you could make it exact. But at the end of the day, it's a handmade card, isn't it? I'm going to line those up. Then I'm just going to reach to get some scissors. Open this up, trim those little bits that overhang, get them out of the way, and there is our little card. And just bring it up for you to see. Now I think that's really cute, and if you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll know that these plastic cups are in my Stampin' Up shop online. So if you want to buy them, if you go to my blog, all the details will be at the beginning of this video and in the information below it. If you don't see it, click on the box that says show more, under the YouTube video, and you'll find the links to my blog, and you can buy these little plastic cups. I can sell to the UK and Europe. Unfortunately, I can't sell to the US or Australia, so you'd have to buy them from a Stampin' Up demonstrator in your area. But they're not very expensive, and you get, I think, 12 in a box. And then the video that I showed last week was the little Valentine's tubes, which were, you know, super simple to do as well. So I hope you like that. I hope you found it helpful. Please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.